how quickly they have turned this all around, but your assessment of how successful it could be?
Well, we've got to be careful not to overpromise just because we're desperate for this vaccine to work. But the team in Oxford have a really strong record going back 30 years, and they have developed a successful prototype vaccine against another type of coronavirus, MERS, which has done well in clinical trials. They've also developed vaccines against plague, malaria. Now, if they don't get early, quick results in the UK, they're considering a trial in Kenya where the epidemic of coronavirus may well be on the rise. Now, this vaccine is known to produce a strong antibody response, but that doesn't necessarily equate to protection. And we're going to need many vaccines. There are dozens in development. So then we'll need billions of doses and expect a huge debate over which countries and which groups of people get the vaccine first.
Fergus Walsh, thank you.
Greetings, fellow Africans. That's the reality. Africa, we are still targeted by this vaccine. Sometimes I think myself, maybe this coronavirus is a target for Africa, because everyone who wants to develop the vaccine want to be tested in Africa. We have seen French doctors speak the same issue, that the vaccine must be tested in Africa. Now the UK has said the same thing, that the developed vaccine should be tested in Kenya. It means in Africa. So every white nation want to test the vaccine here in Africa. We must be careful, fellow friend. We must be careful. We have warned many times without numbers that Africa, we are the target. Africa, totally, we are not the affected much with this COVID-19. There is a lot of countries, especially countries like US, where there is a lot of patients there. So why don't they take those vaccines to test there, where there is a lot of effect of coronaviruses? Why they want to test here in Africa? Fellow Africans, please, especially readers, we must be careful. If you agree this, you are going to kill your nation. Remember the last 2 weeks, the WHO Director General, Dr. Tedros, said that Africa will not be the ground or testing ground for this vaccine. Let us remind you through this clip.
Africa cannot and will not be a testing ground for any vaccine. We will follow all the rules to test any vaccine or therapeutics all over the world using exactly the same rule. Whether it's in Europe, Africa, or wherever, we will use the same protocol, and if there is a need to be tested elsewhere, to treat human beings the same way, equally.
And that is a statement of Dr. Tedros, that Africa will not and should not be the testing ground. But fellow Africans, what I think, this is a time for we Africans to develop our own vaccine. Let us be indigenous. As I said, that we have been targeted for too long. You know
why we have been targeted? Because we have a lot of natural resources. That's why everyone wants to test us. Remember, I think yesterday, President Donald Trump of America says that maybe you can inject this fumigation treatment into the body to cure this. When the doctor realized that that is not a real treatment, if you inject fumigation treatment in the human body, you're going to kill the human. So I think the time is now for we as Africans to come together to find the way how we can develop our own vaccine. That is the solution. Otherwise, fellow Africans, we are going to lose everything. If we are waiting as other people or other nations to develop vaccine for us and come here and test here, if there is a lot of effect, it means we are going to be affected, we as Africans. If your fellow is affected, automatically, even you are going to be affected. So we must take care of this vaccine that has been coming to be tested here in Africa, especially our leaders. Our leaders must stand with the people. or his people or her people to make sure that this vaccine cannot be tested. Sometimes it can be tested through these NGOs. We have a lot of NGOs, and we don't know what's going on in the world about Africa. Black people is not a part of testing, or is not a laboratory. Africa, we are not a laboratory. We want to develop our own vaccine that can treat our people. So fellow Africans, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Please share this video to our fellow Africans diaspora to know the reality that Africa, we are still in trouble. We need to restore our dignity.